War Eagle, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live. As I've just realized now that my microphone was not fully set up here. Gotta love when you have not done a live stream for quite some time and you weren't fully prepared for all this. Anyway, all right, we're switching over into the correct audio format now, live here on the air. All right, that should be better. Let me know if that sounds good to you. Anyway, welcome to another edition of E2C Network Live, the place where we get together and we talk about what's going on in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. Always heavy on the sports here, but if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So on today's episode, I thought we'd talk just a little bit about the excitement of A-Day week finally being here. It's so close, something that we did not get to enjoy last year because of a certain pandemic. And thankfully, we will get to enjoy it this year, barring any unforeseen circumstances. So I thought there would be plenty to talk about in that realm. There's lots of other Auburn sports and Auburn-related news to discuss. So anything is fair game on any live stream that we do, where you can chime in on what you want to discuss as the Auburn family. So don't be shy. Post what you have on your mind. Speaking of posting something, right now, let's do our roll call where you're watching from. City, state, international. Post all that in the chat window right now, as well as smashing that like button if you do enjoy this type of content, because it will help the stream out. As we get started, let me give you a couple reminders that we always do here on any of our streams. The first one being the what we have at the top, the Booster Club, is for as little as $1 a month. That's right, as $1 a month. And honestly, I always kind of say this hesitantly, but I think it's the case. If you sign up now, you don't get charged until the beginning of the month, so you can kind of come in and see if it's worth your while. We share some things in there that some other people only get access to, some really cool perks over there that you might want to come check out. And believe me, every dollar counts. We are primarily fan-supported, so your contributions do help us out. There's also some other links in the chat window and in the description for this video if you want to check all that out at the very top of the chat window. So those are all the ways that you can help support what we're doing here. By the way, we just put out a brand new podcast today, Inside the Jungle, our Auburn basketball show with myself and Gray Oldenburg. We broke down the Sharif Cooper departure. Obviously, it's a little bit after that actually happened, but we were kind of wanting to see some dominoes fall. And we felt like it was a good time to maybe discuss that at this point. Instead of just doing an initial shoot, ready, aim, he's gone, everybody panic. So we discussed that. We discussed Wendell Green coming in, Justin Powell's news, and some prospects that might be coming our way in the future. And as I always say here on these live streams, it feels like personally every time that we go live, something big happens. So yeah, if that's an incentive for you being here, is that something big might happen while you're here and we can all react to it live. I don't know that it was an assistant coach that was hired for Brian Harston during a live stream, but I know it was an assistant coach, a couple of them. I think it was like Cornelius Williams that was hired in the middle of this. And so that's always interesting to talk about. It's been a little bit since our last live stream. I've been a little bit busy here, but we're definitely obviously doing this one today. Thinking maybe about doing one tomorrow midday, as I usually like to do. Or actually, we kind of talked a lot about maybe doing one on Monday nights. I don't know if that's the case just yet, but it's finally slowed down. War Productions in the house. What's going on, man? He says, Auburn softball has been really disappointing. I think all the Diamond sports have been very disappointing. I give a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? I let the baseball stuff go this year a little bit because of, have you seen the SEC? Have you seen the SEC West? My gosh, you thought the SEC West was strong in football. Baseball is outstanding. Softball, yeah. I think there's a lot of, and I'm going to choose this nicely. As nicely as I can. There's a lot of people that want a scapegoat, and now that Gus Malzahn is no longer here, or now that, some other coaches are no longer here, they need a new one. Unfortunately, I think our sights are probably set on our softball coach. But I would just ask that let everybody get back to pace this year, figure things out. I mean, there are obviously some certain instances where,
it makes sense to make a change. Unfortunately, and I love Coach Terry Williams-Flournoy, that I would have loved to have seen it work out with her and stay. It was hard for me to make a case otherwise for her to stay because of the results that we were seeing over a longer track record. I think Mickey Dean has shown that his teams can be competitive. And a year after the pandemic, where everybody's trying to figure things out, some people who were behind probably are further behind, you got to consider all that. But it doesn't take away from the disappointment whatsoever. Ooh, we got a good group in here. Let's see. Mr. Wavy McGrady, what's going on? War Eagle, thanks for being here. Baseball, yes, has been disappointing as well. Wendell Green Jr. is greater than Xavier Pinson. Well, we could talk about that a little bit. So are you saying that you would prefer not to have both? We talked a little bit about that on the Inside the Jungle podcast that we just released. By the way, you can get that on any podcast network. You can also get it here on the YouTube channel. We had some people request that we put them up there. I do suggest and ask that you try to subscribe on an Apple podcast or a Spotify or a Google podcast or something like that. Even Amazon Music we're on now. But you can get it here. And we talked a little bit about, obviously, we think Wendell, the excitement when someone comes is always there. And it's like, everybody's favorite player is the next guy up, that type of thing. So I'm not trying to temper expectations about Wendell Green Jr. I think he was a very necessary get for us because, have you looked at our backcourt? It's empty, aside from Allen Green at this point. With Jamal Johnson leaving, I'll even throw Javon Franklin in there, even though he didn't play a whole lot. Sharif Cooper gone, Justin Powell gone. So you're pretty much rebuilding the backcourt for Auburn men's basketball. So I do think that maybe Xavier Pinson would be a nice addition. A little bit of, upperclassmanship, a little bit of experience, SEC experience. That's the one probably knock that I have on Wendell Green Jr. is that he's not larger conference experienced. Now, we've seen people be successful without a larger conference experience, but I do think it would be beneficial to bring someone in like that personally. I'll take both, but Green seems to fit our squad better from the highlights and I've seen than Pinson. Always be careful watching the highlights. There are people that are convinced that Demetrius Davis is the second coming of Cam Newton simply because of his high school highlights. Now, that's different that Green has got some college experience highlights. So I would put more weight on what you're saying. Okay, college experience highlights, I still don't lean on those all that much, but I can definitely make a better case for what you're saying there. Scoot Henderson is another one. I think we obviously in the podcast, I'll let you go listen to all our thoughts on it, but we previewed potentials coming in. Xavier Pinson, Scoot Henderson, reclassifying is another option. Ty Washington is another option. And then this is not guard related, but Walker Kessler, hello. Couple of live streams ago, I think it was Casey. I haven't seen Casey pop in yet. But Casey was adamant that we're getting Walker Kessler. And I just outright dismissed that. There's no way that's happening. Well, apparently that's changed. There's an option there. From what I understand, it's kind of swayed back in favor of him staying at North Carolina as of this moment. But the door was open for Bruce Pearl to make his case. Will he be able to make a case big enough for Walker Kessler to go? But Scoot Henderson reclassifying is another option as well. Personally, I would just like to see Xavier Pinson be brought over alongside Wendell Green. I think you find another kind of dark horse guard out there, maybe not one of these, and I would feel pretty okay with where we're sitting at in terms of guard play and guard positions, because you got to remember you've got Allen Green there, you've got Devin Cambridge there. That gives you a solid 5 to 6 guards on your team. And, Xavier would probably be the point guard at that point. Well, actually, I'm not sure about that. Anyway, so there are a lot of good options for Auburn to have at this point. So let me ask you all, if you had to put your money on one more player coming to Auburn at the guard position, which it will be, I mean, it's obvious, who is it going to be for you? Who would you say that's going to be? Ramon, what's going on, man? War Eagle to you. Thanks for being here. Happy A-Day week. So we count down. We haven't even talked about football yet, huh? I think it goes to show you how the times have changed at Auburn, even though I'm wearing my 2010 national championship shirt. Basketball is just as much talked about these days. That'll probably change when we get to July, August, that type of thing. It'll be all football again, depending on how this whole guard situation thing happens out there. Sam, what's going on, my man? He says, War Eagle, we got a good crowd. By the way, as all of you are arriving in, a lot of you are finding the stream. Please do remember to smash the like button if you enjoy this content. If you don't, I understand. But it does help the other people that usually, find us that are here. Sometimes they don't get the YouTube is the funniest thing. It says if you hit you subscribe, hit the notification bell to all, it will tell you every time. It doesn't. So you guys can help us and the stream out there. I hope if we don't get Walker, we can get his UNC teammate Garrison Brooks, who is a solid big man. I don't really think that we need any more big men. When I say that we don't need it, it's not like I'm going to sit here and say, hey, no, to somebody that wants to come here. But I will say that I think we would be okay if Walker Kessler or anybody else didn't come, and especially if you get JT Thor back. Now, if JT doesn't come back, there's obviously a little bit of room there. But, we're obviously, when I was talking about the guard play, Trey Alexander, I didn't even throw him in there. Jabari Smith, I know he's more of a swing man, small forward type of thing. But, yeah, it's Auburn's got a lot of, for all of the lamenting about Sharif Cooper leaving, Auburn and Justin Powell and Jamal Johnson, Auburn's got a pretty bright future still for basketball. Spring football has been good lately. What do you mean by that? Help me understand what you mean by good. What are you seeing that's good to you? What are you hearing? The JJ Pekeegs news. How does everybody feel about that? I did a poll with some surprising amount of response on Twitter asking, and I'll ask you guys, yes or no. You can type this in the chat window right now if you feel like answering. Do you agree with the decision to move JJ Pekeegs from tight end ish, whatever you want to call that type of position that he is, just put him on the field, to defensive line? The last time I checked, we had over 300 responses on Twitter. I think it was like 64% yes to 36% no, which I was honestly surprised by. Really was surprised. Might go to the Magic City Classic game next weekend. Ooh, that'd be awesome to go to. You're not coming to A-Day? No A-Day for you? You need to come to A-Day weekend. I'm trying to finalize my plans for the weekend, because what I would like to do, for those of you that are going to be there, is have like a set hour block where I'm going to be somewhere. And this is not about me, but I want to meet everybody I can, like podcast-wise, YouTube channel-wise. I would love to meet some of y'all on campus. So I'm thinking like, meet me at the corner this block of time to this block of time, and come hang out, and let's just get to know each other. Joe's in the house. Joe is one of our Booster Club members. You can be a Booster Club member. It's pinned up at the top of the chat window and in the description. Thank you, Joe, for your support. By the way, sent you a response about your question about the Auburn Roots episode. Again, let me stress to you, man, doesn't have to be a big production, just about us shooting the breeze, talking about your Auburn fandom. But, you obviously do what you're comfortable with. Because I'd love to hear your Auburn story, as I would anybody. Did JT Thor get drafted, or is he staying? Well, the draft hasn't happened yet, Sam. So he is not gone as of yet. He is still not hired an agent that we know of yet. So I would suspect that, we should just plan on JT Thor being here until something happens. That's the way you probably should operate, which is why I'm not super worried if a Walker Kessler doesn't come. Somebody else said his other UNC teammate comes. So there's that. I might go to A-Day. I miss Auburn. You should, Sam. It'll be my first time on campus since the Auburn LSU basketball game last season, there was snow coming through the town, not through Auburn, but through the southeast as well. So it's the last time I've been on campus. I'm about to go, for lack of a Auburn-related reference, hog wild. I feel like an Arkansas fan now in Auburn. I'm going to Toomer's Corner. I'm probably gonna go to Mama Goldberg's, the original Mama Goldberg's. I'm not gonna leave campus for 3 days. I will, but you get what I mean. Great move for JJ. I think he will make more of an impact on defense than on offense this year. I think he has more opportunities. Yes, I think you're right. I think it's hard to fit even as wide a variety and talented individual as he is into a new system, much less an established system. I think there's more opportunities for him on the defensive line, especially with the lack of depth there. It would give him, and actually somebody made this on Twitter. Jay Ratliff would be a good one to look at, who was a converted tight end type that moved to defensive line and became a all NFL defensive lineman. So that's a good way to look at that. Alabama fans making fun of our record in baseball, even though they only have a winning record because the best out of the conference team the best out of conference team they have played was Wright State. Just ignore the Bama fans. Just ignore them. Like, I don't even know why we give them a time of day, honestly. Haven't been to Auburn since the Iowa State basketball game, so about roughly this. Maybe I was there a little bit sooner than you. Got my tickets for A-Day. Hope to see you there, bro. Absolutely. Love to see you there. Listen out on social media and stuff, and I'll probably share with you guys in the Booster Club first. Y'all know I share everything with y'all first. So you'll know, like, if I'm going to be able to be here at this time. And, if you're following on social media this week, I'm planning on doing a lot of posting, maybe some live videos and stuff like that. I will hopefully be able to share some of that with you. If you follow that and you can find me, don't be shy. Come up and say hi. I'm no one to be afraid of. What do you think about the Mason Jar? It's a restaurant. I have not heard of it / been to it. If it's in Auburn, and that's what I had never. Yeah, that's not in my wheelhouse. Honestly, I've forgotten about almost every restaurant since I haven't been there in a year in Auburn. Mama Goldberg's, I will definitely be at. The original, there's something about that musty building that seeps into the food there and makes it so wonderful. I don't know what it is, but I love it every single time. Who has the better campus, Auburn or Clemson? Now, I have not had the opportunity to be at Clemson. I almost went for a track and field event 2 seasons ago, but things came up. It's actually not that far from me. So I really do need to make a point while we're still here in this part of the world. Not meaning that we're going anywhere, but to go over there while I have the opportunity to see it, because supposedly it's the same architecture, it's the same type of feel as Auburn, except with a lake. I'm going to be honest. Obviously, I'm going to say Auburn, but if Auburn could have a lake, wow. I mean, Clemson does have that going for them. Let's be honest. I'm not going to take that away from them. I think they probably have a good case for a great campus, and I will go check that out hopefully sooner rather than later so I can answer that for you. What's the name of the restaurant? Mama Goldberg? Mama Goldberg's. Do you not know about Mama Goldberg's? Hold on. How are you an Auburn fan and don't know about Mama Goldberg's? If you probably don't. Mama Goldberg's is the little bitty shack of a building. They've got a bunch of bar stuff outside now too, which I hate. It makes it look even more trashy. It's across at the intersection there for the parking areas where the business building is. It's on that same intersection right over there. You should definitely go get some Mama Goldberg's from there. There's some other options around the Auburn area, other buildings that they have it in, locations. You can do that, and it's still good, but it is nothing like getting your mama's love from that building. There's so much history there. What's your thoughts on the UNC hire? Don't know him all that much. I think he was it was an internal hire is what I understand, right? That he was brought up he was an assistant coach and then kept there. I think, I actually like those type of hires if that's the case. I think that potentially that maintains their stability. But, and so I think from that stance of looking at it, it's already a win for UNC. But will he be able to maintain the winning? That's the big question, and we won't know that until they start playing. But on paper, I think it looks good. I mean, outside of them going with a home run hire of stealing away a John Calipari stealing away a Bill Self, again, from Kansas. I don't know. Is the UNC player coming to Auburn? We don't know. Obviously, the rumors have kind of gotten a little bit more spicy over the last couple of weeks, or days, really. And I think it's actually kind of taken a downturn since then, because what I understand, Hubert is, I think, the UNC new coach's head coach's name. He has obviously, I think, kind of made some headway in maintaining Walker Kessler, and then apparently his teammate is an option as well. Two big men, I would just say that those would be cherry on top types of situations that we shouldn't bank on them coming. But it has definitely moved in Auburn's favor as an option. What else football-wise are you guys thinking about for A-Day weekend? What do you have on your mind? We've mentioned J.J. Pegues moving to the defensive line position. I think it gives him more opportunity. Just getting him on the field, I think, is a big thing. Everyone's going to be paying attention to the quarterback race, although I would caution you, do not read anything into a quarterback performance on A-Day, because it is a bare bones system that they're running. They're still having a hard time putting that together, it sounds like. I've been an Auburn fan since 1989 and never been to Toomer's Corner. Well, that is changing, my friend. We're meeting at Toomer's Corner. So I will try to, unless there's a better situation, because here's the thing, as I haven't looked up. I know the state of Alabama has canceled their mandates for masks and all that stuff, but I would imagine that has not changed for Auburn. And I don't know how strict they're going to be. Like, if you are across the street, the city of Auburn's probably not going to be enforcing that outside, but are they going to have people enforcing that at Toomer's Corner? I don't know. So trying to figure all that stuff out, because I'd like to have a situation where anybody can come up and say hello, where you can choose to wear your mask or not. I'm one, and this is not to start a debate, I'm one of those people that will not wear a mask unless I'm required. No, will not. It's not a right way of saying that. I prefer not to wear a mask unless I'm required to, and if I'm required to, I will comply. But I'd like to set up a situation where everybody has free choice for that. So if Toomer's Corner is doable without people enforcing those type of things, I think we might try to do that. But if it's somewhere off campus we'll look at that. But I'd love to see Toomer's Corner with you the first time. I'm sad that you never saw it in its true glory. Any standout names for our wide receivers this year? Standout, I would not say. I think there's a lot of potential. Wavy McGrady. I think, Elijah Canyon is a big name out there. I'll tell you this. One guy I want to see start responding is Shedrick Jackson, the nephew of Bo Jackson. I had a lot of hope and promise in him, and it has not lived up. I think he's had plenty of opportunities to live up to that, and that's me as a guy sitting here in front of a computer saying that, so just take that for what it's worth. Probably nothing. But I don't really have names who are standouts yet. There's potential there. I was really honest on previous live streams and said, this is the positions that really worries me, because they're so young. They're very talented, but so young. And so when you've already got a offensive line that is struggling at best, you've got a quarterback whose confidence is not at its highest point and is only going to be a little bit, I won't say hurt, but his progression slowed even further by learning a new system. When your wide receivers are young and making mistakes that they were making last year, and you don't have Anthony Schwartz, you don't have Elijah Stove, you don't have Seth Williams, it's a very scary situation. This is an 8A game, though, so don't read too much into it. I would say this, you will see highlights, you will see big things made. Enjoy them for what they are, but don't read too much into them. The standouts, though, I don't think we have one yet. I'd like to see one, though. I know what one receiving option that Auburn fans would love to have is the tight ends. It's the magic word that the collective of the Auburn fan base believes will save Auburn football is the tight ends. I think we do need to utilize them, and I think probably more, but I don't think they're the thing that turns this offense around. It starts and ends at the offensive line, no matter what way you slice it. That is how you fix Auburn's offense. Not a new coach, not a new system. You must fix the offensive line. And if Brian Harsin can do that quickly, he will be successful because the talent is here. The ability to win at Auburn is here. The attention that you get is here. If he can fix that offensive line, it's going to be good. Top 4 starting wide receivers. Who you got? Great question. Let me just do a little bit of I'm doing a little bit of legwork here just to make sure I give you some accurate. I want to get our depth chart up in front of me, or projected depth chart. There we go. Our Lads is a good site if you guys have ever used it to look at. I've found them to be somewhat handy. They keep it pretty regularly updated here. All right, so this is the 2021 projected depth chart that they have. I'm going to, for top 4, let me just say this is like not in a particular order, but I'm going to put Shed Jackson in there with the caveat that he must produce. It's time for him to produce. I think Elijah Canyon needs to be there as well. Zevion Capers with his height, I think, is another option, and then Kobe Hudson. Now, I basically just named the starting lineup there. Or the first 4 up there. Kalen Newton's up there as well. Don't know how much, we'll be utilizing that. But I basically just took that, but I would agree with all of that. Kobe Hudson, Elijah Canyon, Shed Jackson, Zevion Capers. It's a really good wide receiver core, but it's unproven yet, which is very, very scary for me. Do you think J.J. McGee's cracked the top 2 by fault? I think everybody can crack the top 2 by fault. That's how depleted it is. So, yeah, I think, what's going on? Matthew, what's going on, man? You found me over here on the other thing I do. Matthew is on the other YouTube channel that I run. Good to see you, man. Appreciate you popping over here, even though you're not an Auburn fan. He's one of the he's a Kentucky and a Alabama fan, right? Isn't that how it goes? Starting O-line, who do you got? Who are the battles that you're looking? Are there any battles for position out there? I think every position is open on the offensive line, to be honest with you, the way they performed. I think guys like Nick Brahms, I think he's probably the one mainstay there. Tayshawn Manning, Bradarius Ham, probably those 3 are mainstays. I think Keandre Jones probably has opportunity to solidify himself at a offensive line position. But honestly, it's really open. Whoever can just be a good offensive lineman, for lack of a better word. All right, so help me understand this, Matthew. Where do you get off? I'm just picking on you a little bit. I hope you understand. Being an Alabama fan and a Kentucky fan, you got to pick one, man. You can't have it both ways. That's not how this works. I'm just messing with you. You can do whatever you want, but it's always funny to me when I see that happen. I believe Newton is going to be a breakout player for the year. I would love to see that. How awesome would it be to see Cam Newton's brother become a highlight again at all? And Newton again performing at a high level in an Auburn football uniform is something that would really instill a lot of confidence, would instill a lot of excitement and hype in the program right now that needs it. So that would be fun. I wouldn't suspect it. I wouldn't anticipate that, but it would be a good one. With better routes, these young wide receivers could be fun to watch. Let me take what you said there and flip it a little bit. Routes weren't the problem last year. I know that makes a lot of people mad when I say that, and I'm not saying it does for you, but catching the ball outside of, and really honestly, Seth Williams had some problems last year catching the ball too. Catching the ball was the problem. I think sometimes it's hard to believe that the simplest things are really the way you fix some of the problems that Auburn offenses had, even if we hadn't changed coaches. But it really is that simple. People want to believe that the routes were the problem, the tight end non-utilization was the problem, the play calling was the problem. It's as simple as X's and O's. If your offensive line cannot block, you cannot establish a run game unless you have a Tank Bigsby, and then you must keep him healthy. You cannot get a quarterback whose confidence is already lacking better if you cannot protect him for more than half a millisecond. Wide receivers cannot run better. They won't even get the opportunity to run better routes if they can't catch the ball. And that was the biggest problem last year. The Coach Friend interview was inspiring. Hope he can turn it around. Obviously, I think the biggest thing that the offensive line needs right now is a little just of energy injected to it. And I think he's probably going to be one of those guys that can do that. So I'm hopeful. I really am. I'm very hopeful for what the offensive line, it is the position that I'm watching. You won't find much from the A-Day game, honestly. And if you do, you're reading too much into it. But come September, those first couple of games, we got some time to build up. I'll really be paying attention to that. Let me back up here. You think our defense will be better than last year? And another wide receiver. Oh, I forgot about Javarius Johnson. Just glad we have a route running. There we go, the route running. I forgot about Javarius Johnson. He's another option. There is no, and I'm going to be like very clear on this, there is no lack of talent at all. Every one of the guys that is out there has an opportunity to start and has an opportunity to be a big contributor for the wide receiver. That's how open the position is, because there's no established name there yet. I want it to be Shed Jackson. I think he has the ability to do it. He's got to catch the ball, though. That's the biggest thing. I think the problem with Shed is he's so talented. He's already thinking 2 steps ahead to his next move. And instead of looking the ball in, he's already ready to go. So it's a common thing that happens. I was a terrible football player, and I did that all the time. Kyle, you need to worry about catching the ball first before you even think about running. Just catch that for us. You're a raised Alabama fan. I like Kentucky because they're the underdogs and the only ones I don't like. And the only ones I don't not like in the SEC East. Okay. Let's go to the UCF spring game where we can see players with their Twitter handles on the back. Ooh! That's weird. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just weird. It's not something that I really like. And that's me as a Gus Malzahn fan. For everybody that gets mad at me for defending Coach Gus Malzahn, I hope you hear when I criticize him, because I never want that to go unheard. So the wide receiver routes probably were a little on the predictable side. Let me play this out with me though, Rob. Would you give your wide receivers more varying opportunities if they can't even get the first ones right? Why complicate things when they can't even get the basic ones right? It's an honest question. I would love to see zigzags and all this stuff like that, but I just want them to do the basic ones, because the basic ones were open a lot and the ball was thrown to them a lot, but it wasn't always caught. Hey, at least it's not LSU, am I right? You're still an Alabama fan, so I'd still pick LSU over that. Let's see. Hey, by the way, Matthew, isn't it nice to not have Avery beating you in trivia over here? Harsin is absolutely the most thorough of the new SEC coaches, and I believe he wins Coach of the Year this year. I think that's a bit of a step out, Jack. I'm not saying I wouldn't be ecstatic about that. I think he can do it, and I think there's always a lot of hype around a new coach, especially when they come into a program like Auburn. It already kind of sets them up for success. The notion that he's somehow the most thorough, and I take Gus Malzahn out of the equation. Let's say Joe Cool was our head coach, is more thorough. Well, of course they're going to say he's more thorough because it's a new guy. Everybody's hyped. Everybody's paying attention more. So for me, I don't buy into the whole thoroughness argument of it. But I will say that with Auburn's talent, with his track record, albeit in a smaller conference, Coach Harsin has the highest likelihood for being a Coach of the Year because of what he has to work with and his track record alone. So yes, I will agree with you in that sense, but the fact that he's one of the most thorough ones, let's wait and see before we really solidify that for him. That's just my take on it. It doesn't mean it's right, but it's just my take on it. Anyway, got a good crowd assembling here. By the way, if you haven't, please do smash that like button. It does help the stream out. It helps everybody find here. We are still on our journey to 900 subscribers. Would love to get there sooner rather than later. It does help us in many assets. In fact, I'll give you a little bit of a heads up. My understanding is that I cannot go live from my phone unless the YouTube policies have changed without being at 1,000 subscribers. So if you want to be there, if you want us to do stuff on YouTube live, we're going to have to get there quicker. So you're going to have to help us out by doing that. I have to look at that. So the lives I do may be on our social medias accounts, and not so much the other things. Honeymoon stage only lasts until we lose to Bama State. We ain't losing to Bama State. At least we're not afraid to play them, right? How about that, Matthew? When y'all going to play some of the in-state teams? Huh? We've played Troy. No, have we played Troy? We haven't played Troy. At least not in recent history. We played... I'm thinking, hold on. I had a brain fart. Alabama A&M. Alabama State. I feel like we played more than that. We have, haven't we? Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, we at least are willing to play them. We will not be losing to Alabama State. First big test is Penn State. Whew. And if Coach Harsin gets that win, and which I'm not predicting him to get that win right now, he is going to be sitting very pretty for a Coach of the Year, as Jack was discussing earlier. Let's see. Well, I have a family of Tennessee fans, so I pay attention to them just to make fun of them. And is that Heupel? Heupel, is that how you say it? Absolutely is going to fail miserably at Tennessee. Everyone is going to fail miserably at Tennessee until they get it in their heads that they cannot be like Bama. The one thing that keeps Auburn from actually going into the doldrums like Tennessee is the fact that they continually choose to be different from Alabama. You cannot beat them at their own game when I'm talking about offensively, defensively. Which is why I was so glad when we hired Brian Harsin over a guy like, basically other option was an Alabama acolyte. So I will say Tennessee will be in the doldrums until they actually get original and don't do sleazy things. Which this may be the turnaround for them. I don't see it. I agree with Jack. Alabama State versus A&M next week. How about that? Spring college football. I haven't been watching it at all, but it is interesting to have that going on. Every time I see highlights on social media, I'm like, hold on, what is this, like previous stuff? I didn't know it was going on right now. Was anyone disappointed in the hiring of a women's basketball coach? I thought they would hire a bigger name. I would love to have used our money to pull in a bigger name. There's no money left. I know some of y'all believe there's no money left. But I do think that we probably made the best possible decision. I would not say that I'm disappointed. I would say I'm pleased because we hired an up-and-coming coach from consistently successful program who has SEC experience. And I think given what I always ask for is the 4-year window to be successful at a school, at least 4, they should get 5 to run their system through here. I think that Coach Harris will be a very successful coach. So I'm already on board with her, but I understand the disappointment. I understand it, but I think this was probably the best possible situation you could have found yourself in when you consider all aspects of the equation. We talked about it a little bit earlier, Yihan. We did a poll, and most people are very, very excited about it. Not very, very, at least excited about it. I think the big thing with JJ Pegues is you just need to get him on the field. That's the big thing. Troy was the first game with the Jumbotron. Was that double overtime? Troy was the game? Not following. what we were discussing there. Maybe I lost track of what we were discussing there, but I don't think we've played Troy in recent history. Do you see a blue or orange field in the future? I've seen a few concepts that faded orange field. Didn't look all that bad. They look terrible to me. I am a purist. I am a nostalgia freak. I would much rather us go back to the old white. I would probably not. I was going to say the white with the AAU in it in the middle. But I like what we have now. It's classic. It's boldly Auburn. We do not need an orange field. We are Auburn. We do not need gimmicks to be successful, to draw people in. That's not for me. I was not a fan of the jumbo lights light show either, but that's just me. If you want to see like discussions and commentary on this, follow my friend Clint Richardson of the Auburn Uniform Database. You can find it at auburnuniforms.com. He's your guy you want to follow for stuff like that. I hope not. Honestly, please. Please never do that. It would be awful. Speaking of FCS rivals, Lehigh and Lafayette played yesterday, and Lehigh trailed by a touchdown with a minute left, and they converted 4th and 30. Stay alive. Lehigh still ended up losing, but wow, what an end, though. Incredible. To your earlier question about playing in state teams, I think they're just scared to play us. Oh no, they're not, Matthew. They will play you. Y'all are scared to play them. And I'm not saying that just to pick on you. It's the truth. Like, Alabama has had several opportunities to play in-state teams, and they refuse to. JSU, that was one, because we almost lost to JSU. JSU, y'all are afraid to play because you cannot sully the reputation of potentially losing to an in-state school like that. Auburn's willing to risk it because we're not going to lose. Of course, I've said that. We'll lose now. Knock on wood. Okay, Rob and I literally had an epiphany at the exact same time. It was Jacksonville State. I don't think it was double overtime. I think it was just single. And literally, I remember I was at work trying to check on my phone, holding it down here, trying to hide it from my supervisors, and literally remember where I was walking through, and I just did oh my gosh, when we somehow got to overtime. So there's a little bit of risk that's involved. We just need to play. We just need Alabama to take a risk too. I watched the Auburn on TV versus Mississippi State in baseball on Friday, and I really thought they looked good, even though they lost. So, and that's what I said at the beginning of the show. If you remember, I don't think you were here at the beginning. I give a little leeway to the baseball team as opposed to the softball team, because have you seen the SEC West for baseball? So yeah, I do think they are still a very good team. They just have an unfortunate year where everyone is outstanding in the SEC West, and it's hard to win consistently right now for them. So let's just, I think this is a year where everybody needs to prepare to take their lumps across the board in sports. And because think about it, football is down because of a transition. Women's basketball is down, and because of a transition. Basketball is down because of no postseason and the highs and lows of everything that's going on there. Baseball is down. Softball is down. Equestrian's not down. We're about to go compete for our national championship, the third, what should be fourth in a row. Gymnastics had year, somewhat, even though they didn't get to compete in the postseason because of COVID. So there's not a real... It's not a good year for Auburn. Ooh, I didn't bring my water up. My voice is getting tired. Have you paid attention to Holder Grenier? He got his 4th star a while back, and his ranking has been climbing. We all expected that. I haven't been paying attention to him outside of, I know he's still there, and I've seen him post on social media recruiting other players, which I think is an absolute asset. So I'm not surprised he got his 4th star. That usually happens over time, especially when you're a team that gets picked up when you're a player that gets picked up by a team like Auburn. Alabama refuses to play road games with big name teams. It's always neutral site Atlanta. That's another thing too. Look, if you're not afraid, do it. you're going to do it big then. Jameis Winston. I think that was him that said that. Do you think Auburn will have a full stadium next season? If Auburn doesn't have a full stadium, it will not be because of outside forces. It will be because the administration felt that they could not risk it. It's a tough question. Let me get back to you, Wave and McGrady. We'll do a live stream after A-Day weekend. Let me look at everything that's going on campus. Then let me get back to you on that. I think you sense the hesitation in me. That probably gives you the answer somewhat, that I'm not so certain about it. I want to see how they handle A-Day weekend, because it's going to be an influx of people that haven't been there in quite some time, which is needed for the city and for the university too. I hope so. I think they should. Will they? That's the big question. Well, I'd like to see UCF play us just once. And to see Clemson move to the SEC, I mean, this is a playoff meeting every year. Clemson's getting old. Yeah, look, I'm a guy that thinks that we should make some bigger conferences where you have to compete for your championship game to get to the playoff. I'd love to see the old rivalries return, like Clemson, Georgia Tech, Florida State. I'd love to see teams like that. But as a business sense, you're never going to. You could see a UCF, although that's still the Central Florida market. What I'm getting at is if Auburn, SEC adds anybody, it will be outside markets, which is why Oklahoma is a likelihood. The likeliest option at this point is West Virginia, because they don't make sense in the Big 12. They make more sense in the SEC. So I think of Virginia, a North Carolina team, a Virginia team, a Indiana team. That's not really the SEC at that point, although they're very culturally the same as us. A Miami would make sense. Yeah. Another Texas team that's not, that would make sense. But you won't see a USC. Ham Newton is going to be the Jay Ratliff 2.0. We talked about that a little bit earlier on Beaten Lake. Potential there, right? Good potential for him. Auburn baseball's worst fear is leading late in the game, typically by 2 to 4 runs. God, you are so right. That's why I just tune out when it gets to the 8th or the 9th inning, because I just know what's going to happen. Hey, Casey, what's going on? I gave you some props earlier for holding on firm to that Walker Kessler prediction, because it looks more likely in your favor, still unlikely, but I want to give props where props are due when I was wrong and you were right. Let's see. Auburn women's basketball is about to be contenders. Will be like a 7-6 in the standings team, and second year will be 5-3 team in the standings by third year. Oh! Now I understand. You say we're going to be like the 6th and 7th best team, and the 5 to 3rd best team, and then we'll be competing. I was like, if that's going to be our SEC record. That's not a good I understand now. I'm with you. I think Coach Harris has a high. I think her and Brian Harsin are very comparable hires for Auburn. Just for fun, who's the next Auburn coach on the chopping block? Well, if you ask the fans and the Twitter mob, it's it's been since the day he arrived. Mickey Dean. Yeah. I think everybody else has either been transitioned over. So I'm trying to Hoppa ain't going nowhere. Grabe ain't going nowhere. Gary Williams isn't going nowhere. Gary Taylor, the swimming coach, isn't going anywhere unless they all choose to go somewhere. Kleinard, men's golf, isn't going. Is it Coach Llewellyn? I'm so bad at the women's golf isn't going anywhere. I don't think the tennis is having a transition on either side. Football's not going anywhere. Basketball's not going anywhere. Baseball shouldn't. Although I've seen crazier things happen. I think softball's the best option in that hypothetical scenario where I do not believe it should happen. We've had enough transition. Auburn Also, I was at the Auburn versus Jacksonville State game. It was the first Auburn game, and I did wear an Auburn shirt. And a friend, I went with a tuba player in the band back in the 80s. You got to decide which team you are. Look, you know you want to be an Auburn fan, Matthew. Come be with us. You telling me you're a Bama fan and wore an Auburn shirt? He's got him set on him now. To be honest, I think UCF might move to the SEC and Auburn move to the East, North Carolina. Well, Casey, I would love for Auburn to move to the East, but it's not happening until Alabama gets off their high horse and stops pretending that Tennessee is a rivalry game. Georgia Tech is more of a rivalry game than that. Auburn needs to be in the East. Auburn and Alabama need to be each other's cross-divisional rivals, and it fixes everything. It really does. How confident are we about Bo Nix right now? 100%. Of course, that's going to differ who you talk to. Bo Nix is the quarterback and will be the quarterback next year. And the day that I'm wrong, I will admit it here live on the stream so you all can point and laugh. But Bo Nix is your quarterback. It's time to, and I'm not saying this to you, Yehan, or like anybody specifically, but it's time that we as the collective Auburn fan base accept that. Oh, well, at least he's got respect for Auburn. See, I don't got any respect for Alabama. None whatsoever. I would, and when I say this, please hear me out, because in the world we live in, everything gets taken out of context. I would like to see the idea, the University of Alabama, not the people, but just disappear from society. Disappear. No harm comes to anyone, but it just no longer cease to exist. I would love it. That's how much I don't like Alabama. Let's see. Maybe one day we'll see the game we've always wanted. Auburn versus Notre Dame. Okay, so Clint and I, my friend I've talked about, the Auburn Uniform Database guy, we're trying to figure out sometimes he can be on a live stream with me. And we'll try to do that sooner rather than later. And maybe you can bring that up again on Beaten Lake, because he is very much a fan of that one. Like, I would touchdown to use. It's a little sacrilegious, but hey, it's fun. So is Wendell coming to Auburn for basketball? Yes, he is. He is going to be a new combo guard. May play a little point guard, but is probably best suited at a 2 position. Mr. Wavy McGrady, thanks for being here. Make sure you're subscribed, that notification bell, so you know when we're going live next. Love to see you again, buddy. I'm about to head out here in just a little bit, but I want to try to catch up. We got a lot of people popping in here. Tank is going to be the MVP for the offense. Smoke for the defense. Good picks. So you mean a Thanos snap? Yes. You know what's over there on that wall because you're part of the other YouTube channel. If I could bring it over, I would do an illustration for you right now. I would Thanos snap Alabama from existence. Not the people, the idea, the university, the entity. Be very clear when I say that. Auburn could easily slip into the East, but then Florida would have competition, and we don't want that, right? Now, I honestly look, when we take the semantics, the rivalry, like the whole discussion of we hate Alabama out of it, it just makes sense geographically, historically, logistically, for Auburn to be with some traditional other rivals in Tennessee and Florida and Georgia and stuff like that. And think about what you have then is you've got a stronger conference as a whole and more competitive. And you have Alabama, LSU, and Texas A&M. You would have Auburn, Florida, and Georgia. Actually, did I say it right? Oh, yeah, that would be right. And then you've got some decent teams underneath that, whether it be Ole Miss, Mississippi State, you've got Tennessee, you've got South Carolina, and everybody's got their duds. Missouri, Vanderbilt. It just makes sense. Why isn't A-Day going to be on regular television and not television and streaming only? Because the money is not, there's less interest in Auburn football right now as a nationwide thing. Yeah, I mean, you've got to be the main programs right now to get that type of coverage. That's as simple as that. That's why you should be there. Let's see. Where am I? I lost track of where I am in this. Wendell is going to be the starting point guard next year unless Scoot Henderson comes. No, he's not. Well, actually, how about this? Wendell will be if nobody else comes, but there will be someone else probably. I hope it's Pinson coming in to be the point guard. Scoot Henderson, though, would be nice. Don't think UCF is changing anytime soon. They wouldn't even schedule Florida. I think it was more in Florida not to schedule UCF. Personally, I think that's what that was. Do I think that Mickey Dean gets let go and the gymnastics coach? No. Jeff Grabe ain't going anywhere. Mickey Dean, if the trajectory continues, maybe. I don't want that. I don't think that should happen at this point. But let me clarify. This season, nothing else needs to happen. Continues next year, we can have that conversation then. Yeah, Casey, I gave you credit. Your prediction looks more likely than it did. Still unlikely, but yeah. You are one of the best. No, I'm not. I appreciate that, though. There are several people on this YouTube channel that will tell you that I'm not. That have a sense of humor about the rivalry. See, look, here's the thing about this. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I like Alabama. The FCC, SEC. I want the SEC to fail miserably at the hands of Auburn every single time. It makes no logical sense. I get it. The argument's there for you want your conference to be good, so you look good. I get it. I hear you. Auburn, orange and blue, that's the only thing that I care about. All the other stuff can go away. Good to see you, Matthew. I'll see you at Trivia Night this week. Thanks for stopping on over here. Appreciate it, buddy. Not a big Iron Bowl fan. The Georgia rivalry is my favorite. That's been a new trend as of late, Rob. I'm not surprised by that, which still is odd to me, and I live in Georgia. No, Alabama is the end-all, be-all to me. I would sacrifice playing Georgia if it meant we could beat Alabama every year. It's just that simple. Just drag them down. Okay. There we go, Josie. I know I like you for a reason. Okay. All right. Let me bring this up here. I do need to head off. My wife is waiting on me to help with her with a project. But last minute comments, questions, derogatory rebuttals. Smash the like button if you haven't, please. If you're enjoying this type of content here, let me remind you, if you haven't, please do consider helping us in any way you can. You can do that by listening to the podcast, joining the Booster Club, donating on PayPal, purchasing something at TeePublic. All different ways you can help support what we're doing here. Some of them are no cost to you. Some are a small cost. But we are listener, viewer supported. If you are a consumer of our content, we are made by you and for you. So I do appreciate anything that you can do for us, even if it's as simple as listening to a podcast. All those links are available in the chat window. At the very top, there's even one pin for you, which is the Booster Club. But there's also them in the description for this video if you want to check some of those out. So thank you guys so much for doing that. Shout out to guys like Joe who are part of the Booster Club. You guys and ladies over there make all of this possible. Appreciate y'all so much. All right, let's see. The defense is going to be dominated. Whoa. Let me back up here. The defense is going to be dominant on A-Day. The second team will win the spring game. 35-21. I don't even know how they're scoring this whole thing, so I'm not even worried about that. But, yes, I do think the defense will probably look the best on A-Day. War Eagle, ready for football season. Can't come soon enough. Michael, glad you got here. We're about to head off, but I'm glad to see that you made it in here. It is exciting. I plan to potentially do another stream tomorrow midday, so I hope that you'll be here. And, I think that's about all I have for you to get today. I really appreciate you all showing up and being a part of the stream. It's always more fun talking to you about all of this stuff so much. Oh, actually, let me check that on what I said for the stream for tomorrow. Maybe I go at midday, but we might think about doing it in the evening. We'll see. Just pay attention. Make sure you're subscribed. Have that notification bell. All that good stuff. So you know when we go live. Last little thing here with Saban's ego. He doesn't have to play in state schools. He just has them abolished. UAB. The truth hurts, but it is the truth. All right. Thank y'all so much for being here. Till we talk to you again. War Eagle.